Today, we're going to be talking about Dehancer and some of the updated features that they've added to the application and just my general overall thoughts on this plugin. But first, let me show you what you can achieve with this software so it all makes sense. Disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video, but Dehancer did reach out to ask if I wanted to review their plugin, to which I said yes. So stay tuned for an even more in-depth analysis that I will be doing later on the channel. Now, I assume that most people already know about this program, but let's quickly run through everything and I'll break it all down into two parts. One is color management, which covers everything around the film look. And the second is effects, things like grain, halation, and all that extra seasoning. So whether you're editing in Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, or Premiere Pro, there's something for everyone here. Let's get into it. So if we go into the tab, first is input source. Here, you can choose your camera type and color space that you shot in. It's like a basic set of conversion profiles for movie cameras, including the likes of the Arri Alexa, Sony, and everything else. And recently, they also just added the Apple log profile here. And if you're on DaVinci, think of this as a CST node that you can also do some basic correction parameters here. Next is Film Developer. What this thing does is that it lets you effortlessly control contrast, color, and saturation. Think of old school film photography. Creators like to tweak details like the contrast and the color. For instance, you are going to be adjusting the contrast for a cozy winter scene just so that it matches. And you can do all of that with just a few clicks. It's perfect for anyone who dislikes default camera settings or wants a creative touch. Now, while it might not be something you use every day, it really can be that hidden gem for that extra in your visuals, if you know what I mean. Next is film profiles. Now, in this app, there are dozens of photography and movie film stocks with truly analog controls. All of these things have been updated in just one click inside the plugin. You have the full range of the current Kodak Vision 3 negative movie films, plus the Eastman X5222 with a push and pull simulation for exposure. So basically, you have the bulk of your favorite looks from movies or photos that you can be inspired to create something with. Next is film compression. Digital sensors like measuring cups, they can overflow quickly when they get too much light. Now, when this happens, details in bright areas start to vanish suddenly, just like an extra drop causing a glass to spill. Now, imagine film emulsion as a sponge. It absorbs light gradually, avoiding sudden overflow. Even when it's saturated, it responds more smoothly to additional light, preserving those details longer. In the film world, highlights slowly rise, and even with excessive exposure, they maintain detail. This unique behavior is called highlights compression. This tool in Dehancer lets you recreate the enchanting tonal range of film where the highlights just sort of gracefully blend into the rest of the image. Next is Expand, which you can basically treat like a curve slider, but only for shadows and highlights. To put this in plain terms, this is a simple and effective way to control black and white points independently. Really simple. Next is Film Print. Now, in the software, we get clean profiles of the original negative films correctly interpreted without the influence of photographic paper. This means that it becomes possible to print any of all its film stocks on any other print medium. In particular, on the Kodak Vision color print film 2383 that's become popular amongst a lot of our movies and, in Hollywood. And lastly, the color head, which is basically a cyan, magenta, and yellow color head. It's a subtractive color correction tool that also takes into account exposure compensation. And that's everything around the color management side of things. If you found this video useful so far, trust me, it's not the end. There's more, but please subscribe and like so I know that you enjoy this type of content. Also, all the music you've been hearing in this video was gotten from Upbeat, Audio, and Artlist. You too can get them for a discounted fee using my links in the description of the video. Or you can get it for free by signing up. Now let's get to the part that excites people the most, the effects. First, film grain. This is perhaps what most people come to this plugin for. The people at Dehancer now say it's realistic film grain simulation with adjustable size, amount, and impact. With separate controls in shadows, midtones, and highlights. They've actually recently updated them to an easier version where you can just select a preset and get it working straight away, whether it's 16, 35, 65, or 70. Next is halation. It appears visible as a subtle red glow around bright light sources, specular highlights, and contrasting edges. So every time you see that red glow in those YouTube videos, you know what it is now. It's called halation. And next is the bloom. This one is pretty straightforward and has flexible controls that brings something like a misty glow and soft vintage feel, like a soap opera. And no, it's not a pro mist. Yeah, moving on to film damage, animated gate weave, and film breath effect. These effects are very true to actual film cameras from way back, but fun fact, I almost never use this because it's too stylized for the type of work that I do. Next is the vignette. Built into the application is a vignette effect with size, aspect, position, and exposure controls like you have on most editing software. So if you've done any sort of photo editing, this should be pretty straightforward. And one of my favorite is the monitor, which I find to be one of the most used feature of this plugin in my case. It basically is a false color output filter for visual quality control. Like when you want to check where your IREs are on a particular shot, this comes in handy. I use this all the time. It also has a clipping indicator, which can work both ways for over and under exposure. This is one of my favorite tools. Next is output, which is how much the plugin is affecting the image. My advice, never touch this part. And lastly, a LUT generator, which you can use to generate LUT modules and export them for your in-camera or on-stage grading. So all of that is packed into this Dehancer Pro application. Most of these features also carry along into the iOS app that I've been trying out for some time now. And just to show you what that can do, here are a couple before and after images shot on my iPhone and graded with Dehancer iOS. Now, let's really talk about this, right? I'm working through my own film emulation journey myself, but simultaneously, I'm looking for an escape from film emulation into a more expanded look development process for a modern and more universally applicable palette, since most of my work is in the commercial space and TV cinema narratives. Dehancer can certainly be made to emulate filmic characteristics well, but I think it just requires a lighter touch than most people engage it with, which leads me to what could be improved on in future versions. This thing is not perfect. Let's get to it. Simplify the sections into color and effect. Having to scroll down all the time just to jump between different panels can make the user experience quite time consuming, and I want things that can save me time, not cost me extra. Second would be to integrate real-time preview of the different film stocks when you're scrolling through the list. I think it would help simplify the process of surfing through countless film stocks and not knowing what they look like. That will also save you, the user, more time. Now, if you're still here, I hope this has helped in making your choice. In case you'd like to purchase Dehancer, you can use my code TemiTayoIsMe at checkout for a 10% discount. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you how I emulate film stocks for commercials and my films from scratch to finish. I mean, every single step. Subscribe if you'd like to see that, and give this video a thumbs up so that other people can find this useful. If you have any comments or you just like to argue, drop them below or find me on Twitter at TemiTayoIsMe. My work here is done. And with that, I want to say welcome to 2024. Happy New Year. Pow, 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 kung pao chicken. Pow, 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 kung pao chicken. That's right.